And here we have another video of stripping this old Nishiki frame, and we want to save this old headset. It's in pretty cool shape. It's all vintage. Sticker's a little coming off, but otherwise it's probably nice, probably fine. I want to save this fork too. Frame has some road rash back here from a loose wheel or out of true tire, out of true rim, I mean, tire rub. This is a nice old chromoly fork. So I'm going to show you how to do a little video on how to remove a vintage 1-inch threaded headset. For this, I'm going to use this nice thick Park headset wrench and a thin Park headset wrench. They're both 32 millimeters. You can use an adjustable wrench if you don't have this big headset wrench. You don't want to get it. You really don't need it. I just like it. And so the headset cup on the bottom has a thin little 32 millimeter wrench flat, in theory. When in doubt, wiggle, try other angles. I'm going to try and hold this bottom wrench while loosening the top one. And there we go. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, so I'm holding the bottom, turning the top left. Sometimes they squeeze them into each other, or yank them out apart, whatever helps. Now the top nut will just thread right off. And it's just an old 1-inch threaded top nut, followed by some spacers. Sometimes old vintage ones have a little tooth in the spacer. It's to help keep this cup from moving while you're tightening it. Now we can just unthread this, or it's real tight, you can put the tool back on. You can just spin the fork if you want. Sometimes you can hold this with the tool and spin the fork. Sometimes it's starting to burr up and get tight. You go the other way a little bit, you can shake that burr off. On really, really vintage bikes, you gotta do this upside down because the ball bearings will fall over the floor. But on 80s and 90s stuff, they usually have a caged bearing. So the bearings are all trapped in this little cage, and then it runs around in here. So there's a dust seal and a cage with all the bearings floating in it. There's another bearing on the bottom, and the bottom bearing. Now that just leaves us with these cups, which are press fit into the frame. So the frame's machined to a size, and then the cups are machined just like 1/10 of a millimeter bigger, so they have to be hammered in, which also means they have to be hammered out. Last time I overhauled the headset, I realized I didn't have the right tool to hammer this out, and I had to take it down to Tomcat and hammer it out. It's basically this tool. So this is a Park tool that slides into your head tube and then expands, and you can hammer it back out, and this pushes against the cups and knocks them out. But this one's only for 1.1/8" or bigger. So I went on the eBays and I found me a new old stock vintage headset knocky outy cup removal tool. Gotta figure out how to open this thing. Be the right tool, I need you. Aha! So check this out, vintage Unor. It says for 1.1/8", 1.25". It sounds a little tough, but maybe. New old stock for less than half the price of a new Park one. Way better tools, way vintagey and more fun, for cheaper. Look at all knurled so you can hold it, a nice surface to hammer on. Little logo, it says a quarter on it for some reason. You can see it all splayed out, so what we're going to do is we're going to push it up through the frame, squeeze it together, pull. Now, you hear that snap? It's up past the headset. We push back down onto that headset. And then a few simple whacks should pop it right out. Boom, and there it is. This is that cup that's press fit into the frame. The tool sits right on top of the cup and drives it back down and out. Now for the top cup, just do the same, but in reverse. And drove that cup right out too. Cool, 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 cool. I love my new old stock weird tuning fork. And that's it, we got this frame totally stripped. But that is my video for getting out an old headset. All I'm gonna do now is clean it and really inspect it and see if it's worth saving. That was a lie. There's one last step for moving an old headset from a bike, Tongay, Japan, and that is to get the crown race off. First thing I'm gonna do is take a close look at the back side of this crown race. The back side of the fork is where most of the pressure on the bike is. If it's loose, it's getting hammered and slapping back there. If you're jumping all the time, doing crazy stuff. So we check there to make sure there's no damage. Run our fingernail across it. You can get a ballpoint pen and run in there and make sure that bearing race is still really nice and smooth. You can check the rest of it too, but that's usually your first clue. If it's bad there, it's the whole headset's dead. And it's fine. So I don't really have a real workbench. So what I'm going to do is put this block of wood on the corner here so it's pretty stable. And then I'm going to, I usually like to do a little rag too. I don't want to damage the fork threads. I'm going to use a chisel or punch. I usually like ones a round tip and flat on the bottom, but this is the one I can find right now, so we'll have to do. Plenty of this fork crown sticks out past the fork, or this crown race sticks out past the fork crown. So I got lots of lip to get on there. We're going to have to give it a few whacks. Oh, and it fell right off on the second try. Usually I do a couple on each side, flip it around, do a couple more, flip it back around, do 1 or 2 more. So that knocked this crown race right off. Now crown races are the same thing. This is an old Japanese bike, so it's probably 27.0. So this will be machined to like 27.0, this will be machined to like 27.1 or 2 or some nonsense like that. So it's a friction fit, so it won't go on itself. It has to be hammered on as well, so that it won't move and fall off and be all weird. Nice about old Japanese forks is if they get a little squishy, you can machine them down to the English standard, which is 26.4. Very, very much closer. Any frame builder or good shop has a crown race cutting tool. Cut them down to 26.4, and you get lots of 26.4 headsets. A lot of the Japanese headsets you can buy just the 26.4 crown race, all the new Tongays and stuff. You can save your old headset, or you can cut the head tube as well. You can run the reamer and facer over this, run the reamer and facer through the head tube, and cut it down to the correct size too, which is 30.0, where the old Japanese is 30.2, so very small differences, but not interchangeable. I have seen someone crumple their head tube trying to stick a 30.2 cup into a 30.0 thing, so even though it's 0.2 millimeters, cheap old head tube and a big hard headset press, and someone was real pig-headed, really stomping on it, rippled and dented and crumpled their head tube. So, you know, use the right size things. Things aren't interchangeable even though they're close. Just like a 25.4 and a 26.0 stem. Not the same, not interchangeable. Put a 25.4 bar and a 26.0 stem, the bar will always slip. Try and cram a 26.0 bar into a 25.4 stem, you just chew it up. It's a nightmare to get in, it's even harder to get out. So be careful. And now all I'm going to do is clean this guy and see if it's nice and set it aside in my parts stash. So thanks for watching.